Welcome back. In this lesson, we're just going to continue making this reel. I will finish animation 1 by the end of this lesson. Okay, so let's just jump straight into it. We're gonna edit from here until here. So firstly, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna drag all of these down a video track just for my ease of access. And what we're gonna do is we're going to export all of this or link all of this to an After Effects composition, and you can actually link text as well. So if you didn't know that, there we go. Replace with After Effects composition. Hopefully my Premiere Pro doesn't crash, please. Yep, After Effects has just opened up. I'm going to name this animation 1, and as you can see, I've already made it all before. Oh, actually no, I'm going to call it linked comps for Charles editing style course, because what I like to do is I like to keep all my animations in one After Effects project, just so I can access all the assets that I use. And I'm just going to save it here. All right, so okay, you might see all of these compositions. Basically, that's just the text. And all right, first things first, I'm just going to separate all the text and place it back here. So there's a really fast way to do this. It's to first of all click on the text, change anchor point, Control X to cut, close this, Control V to paste it, delete the one below it, and you just repeat that. I'm going to pause just to save you some time, but just go through, Control X, and paste it to the main composition. All right, so we're back, and I just did all of this off camera, so you didn't have to sit here and watch me just Control X, Control V. And now we have everything on its own separate text layer as opposed to a composition, a pre-comp. Okay, but a problem we have here now is that the text position is completely off. So the way we do this and fix it is we select all of them by you click it, you press shift and then click the one at the very bottom. So that selects all the layers. Then you press P, which is the hotkey for position. And okay, just let me make sure. Okay, they're all consistent. And what we have to do is just drag it down to approximately where it was originally. Let me just double check. Never mind, my Premiere Pro is not working. Okay, so it was approximately this position. That looks good to me. So yeah, it's all fixed now. And to get rid of all the positioning things, just press P again. Gets rid of all of it. And here we have the captions now in After Effects. So let's play it through.
The reason why you constantly face creative.
Okay, so what we need to do now is apply some sort of transition to these four, because they're actually going to be on the screen and not covered up by the animation. So what I like to do here is add a fade in. It's quite simple. I'm just going to drag it here, and I'm going to change the settings a little bit. So it has it on 4, which is way too high. 0.5, I think, will work.
The reason why you...
Nope, even less. 0.2.
The reason why you...
Nah. Maybe 0.1. Okay.
The reason why you...
Okay, no, I see the problem here. The word "the" is way too short, so I'm just going to change this whole thing to "the reason." So this will just allow us to fix a bit. So let's see. I'm going to drag this on now. Let's make it 0.5. Let's see how it is.
The reason why...
And now I have more problems. Okay, bear with me.
The reason why you...
I still think that is too slow. So 0.2.
The reason why you... The reason why you...
Okay, I think 0.2 is good. So what we have to do is copy all of that and apply it to all the other layers. So Control V. Actually, no. What the hell? Okay, no, you have to do it one by one. Control V, What? Okay, now I'm just confused. All right, Control C, Control V. All right, now it works. Great. And we'll just add this to the first 4. All right, let's see.
The reason why you constantly face create.
Okay, so now you have a
The reason why
simple
you constantly.
and clean fade in effect.
The reason why you constantly.
Perfect. All right, now what we want to do is set up the next scene. For the purpose of time, I'm not going to show you how to do the Photoshop process where I separate the background with the character, because I've already showed you before in a previous course. So instead, I'm just going to import the Photoshop file and all the other assets I need and start animating. Okay, so I've just gone ahead and imported all the assets we need, and you'll be able to find them in the link in the description down below, so you'll be able to follow along. So just make sure you've imported all of these assets here that we need for this animation. All right, so let's start designing the scene. So we know we want the animation to start here, and it starts with the boy with the hands on his head. So these are the 2 layers, and I'll import it above the raw footage. Okay, it's just the wrong way around. All right, so we have the boy and we have the background, and we want to make both of them 3D. All right, so now they're 3D. They should start here where face is like on the screen. And what we're going to do here is we're going to bring the boy a bit closer. I'm just going to hit P with the position. We're going to make him a bit closer. We're also going to bring him down a little bit just so that he doesn't cut off weirdly. And with the background, I'm going to hit P again. What we're going to do is actually bring it all the way back. And another thing we can do is delete that. I won't delete it for now. I'm just going to hide it. All right. So we're just going to bring the background all the way back. I think something like 3,000, sorry, could work well. And then we're just going to make it bigger. And you might be wondering why it is we actually do this. And the reason's quite simple. It's because it creates depth to our animation, and it also creates a parallax movement sort of feel. So in real life, things don't move like at the same rate if they're far apart. So for example, if you put your thumb out and you look to the left, you look to the right, you can see that the objects aren't like moving left and right the same amount. You can see that the amount they move is directly proportionate to the distance they are from your eyes. So basically, the reason why we do this is to make the movement look more realistic, and also so that there is depth, and we can also put things in between these 2 layers. All right, so enough about that. Let's continue designing the scene. All right, so another thing we have in this scene is we have the TV lines overlay, and if you remember correctly, we only have it on top of the background, and we're not going to make it 3D because we use it for the whole scene. We're going to change the blend mode to screen so it creates this effect, and it looks really cool. I'm actually going to the opacity is fine. That looks good to me. So that's basically all we need right now as far as scene design goes. I'm just trying to think. We also have this other overlay here, but this is applied to both the boy and the background, and it's basically just a noise overlay. We do need to rotate this one because it is horizontal, so I'm going to press R and change it to 90 degrees, and I'm going to change the blend mode to screen once again. So let's just have a look.
Phase creative block.
Yeah, okay, the scene design is looking good so far. Now, how do we transition from this to that? It's simple, really simple. So basically, all we need to do is stack the transition like we did in the original video. So firstly, they all have an opacity fade in sort of thing. So I want them to be on the screen by this point. And another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make them above face. So that way they will fade in and you won't be able to see the second word either.
Phase creative.
Okay, so opacity, fade in. How do we do that? We press O for opacity. Oh no, T, sorry. It's kind of weird. And we're going to have a keyframe here where we want it to appear. So keyframe there. And we're also going to have a keyframe here, and we're going to set it to 0. And we're going to use easy tools to give it an easy ease, which is EE here. And now
Phase creative block.
You can see it fades in. Actually, I think I need to make it a bit longer. Just drag it out a bit.
Phase creative.
Perfect. Now,
Phase creative.
I think I can get rid of that. We don't need it.
Phase creative.
And if you remember correctly, we also had this rotation as it was coming in. And just before I do that, I actually want to align the boy. Wait, what? I just want to align the boy with myself. Is that the background layer? Oh yeah, the boy with myself. Actually, never mind. That's fine. All right. So now I'm going to add a camera. I'm going to make it a 2-node camera, just for a little bit more customizability. And we're also going to add a null object on top of that and make it 3D, link the camera to it, just so we have some null linking going on. And here, we're going to hit position and press Shift and R, so we have the rotation as well. And we're just going to keyframe everything here, and then we're going to get to this point and keyframe it again. Now we're going to drag that out a bit. And what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to just bring this here so I can set it up, and then I'm going to drag it back. All right. So we want it to be zoomed in. About there is good. And I want it to be rotated like, I want it to be rotated by a bit more actually. How much flexibility do I have? All right, so what we have to do now is just make this background a bit bigger. So S for scale and make it even bigger. So this just allows me to rotate it a little bit more for a really cool effect. And now I'm first of all going to drag this back to align with the first keyframe. And I'm going to use flow to give this graph right here. This graph, just replicate it, and I'm going to hit apply. And now there's going to be a really smooth transition into the next scene.
The reason why you constantly phase creative block.
Sick. I'm actually going to drag this out a bit more.
Constantly phase creative block is.
Yeah, that looks so good. All right. Now we got to have the creative block and the text now for this scene. Okay, so for the creative block text, I'm going to do it here, and creative block. I'm just going to drag all of this above the other layers, so it's just all right. Creative block. So we want to make the word creative 3D as well, just so it rotates with the other layer here. Just so like as the null object rotates, it also rotates. And the way we're going to do this is position it here, and we're going to have it above the boy, because if you remember correctly, we had it up here. And the scale, I'm just going to do it like this and make it a bit bigger. About that big looks good to me. So creative, and we want to have a fade in for this as well. So I'm just going to copy this quickly. Control C, Control V. So this will also fade in now.
Creative block.
So creative
block is.
So the word block. We want creative to last a bit longer, of course, and then block. All right. So for the word block, we're going to make it 3D, drag it up. And if you remember, we had a different font here, and I'm just going to move my head. The font here was serif, PT serif regular. So that looks really clean, and it was also all caps. So there we go. And we're just gonna make it bigger by selecting it and dragging it out. And this one, actually I'll make them both bigger. And this one was below, it was behind the head slightly. Okay, that's not very good. I'm going to use the position rather. So P, and then just bring it back a little bit. How far back is it? All right, hold on a second. Is this a 3D layer? What the hell? All right, just bear with me for a second while I figure this out. Okay, I'm stupid. All you have to do is just drag it below layer of the character. All right, and I want the O to be replaced by the head, so like the head is sort of like an O, and also this should be closer together. That's good. And we're gonna alter the scale, so S, make the scale a bit bigger this way, and now I'm gonna position it so that the O is sort of covered by the head. I'm gonna move it up a bit actually. So creative block, so like half of it is covered by the head, and then the word creative, we're gonna make that a bit bigger as well. It's the first creative, so this one, and we're just gonna make it a bit bigger with scale and make it a bit bigger. Perfect. And I'm just gonna bring it a bit closer actually. It's just about fiddling with it. Just make sure everything looks perfect. So creative block, you have it now. And I'm going to bring this below the overlay of the TV lines. Just so that this creates a cool effect where the text is also affected by the TV lines overlay. And I think that looks really good. All right. And another thing I think personally is that the opacity is a bit too high. So T, I'm gonna turn the opacity to 80%. And I think this way it just blends with the layers a lot better, and it just looks a lot better in my opinion this way. So let's have a look.
This creative block is
So creative block. I also want to have a transition here. So just gonna copy and paste that. So here's the first thing.
instantly phase creative block is not
Okay, perfect. All right, now we have to do the is not because bit. And what I did was I zoomed in to this area and just had it pop up. So first of all, I'll extend this by a bit.
block is not because you
Okay, firstly, I'll just get rid of everything. Yeah, okay, there we go. All right, so is not because, I just gotta find where that is not because, so this is just one line. It's not because, so delete that. It's not, and then just add a because there. All right, and this I will also, actually I'll make this one above the TV lines overlay just to add a little bit of variety. And okay, I moved the wrong layer. So, oh my days. By the way, this is like me editing it, and you can also see all the issues I'm facing. So if you face the same problems, we'll be able to solve them. Yeah, okay. So it's not because we want to make this 3D layer. I want to make it down here. And do I need to bring it forward? Or is it just because? Okay, it's just because of that. All right. So I'm going to have it positioned around here, but I'm going to make it a bit smaller because we're going to zoom into it anyways. So just scale it down a bit, and yep, position's good. So what I want to do now is have the position of what I'm going to do is create a second null object. So do a little bit of null linking here, and once we get to this point, I'm gonna drag that out.
Phase creative block is not because you were.
And if you remember, we also had rotation, so I'm just gonna drag all of this out to better suit our scene.
Phase creative block is not because you.
All right, and at this point, I'm gonna keyframe it here, and by this point, we want it to be zoomed in. And okay, I forgot to link it. Silly me. And just position. And then by this point, we want it to be zoomed in and down here. So you can still see the word block. And you can see the parallax movement here as well. So I think this is a good spot to have it, and add this curve, drag that out.
Block is not because you were born. Not because you were. Block is not because you.
Yep. And then we had a text animation here. So that's just with Animation Composer. I had a text layer preset. It was this one. And I'll just animate the in animation. Drag that to there to shorten it. So
Is not because you were born less creative.
actually, I didn't have the Animation Composer preset, sorry. I just had it right out with the typewriter effect, I believe. How do I delete this? Remove. All right. So that's not what I had. I had a typewriter effect. So the typewriter effect basically just writes it out from left to right. So I'll search typewriter, drag it onto there. And now if I press U, I can see the keyframes for the typewriter effect. And it is way too long. So I want it to end there, start here, and it'll look like this.
Is not because you were born less creative than others.
Perfect.
Is not because you were born.
And I'm going to make it easy.
Is not because you were born less.
I think it's a bit too slow, so I'll make it fast.
Is not because you were born less creative than. Born. Because you were born.
Okay, so I want to end it around here.
Creative block is not because you were.
Okay, perfect. And then we transition into the next scene. Okay, so the transition for the next scene occurs when the words "you were" are on the screen, so we can delete that. Born
Less.
I'm actually gonna split this. Okay, don't know what the Loom's interfering with my keyboard shortcuts here. Okay, I'll just have to do this. Actually, can I even do it? Hold on, I might need to pause the recording to cut this clip in half because Loom's not allowing me to do it. Alright, so basically Loom didn't let me use the Control 50 shortcut to cut the clip, so I had to pause the recording. And what I want to do here is just separate it, because the way we did it before is we had less creative as one thing and born as another text layer. So I'm just going to make it like that. All right, so this is the next scene, we know, and we want to have the flash transition, which is one of the aspects, at around this frame, halfway through the transition. So the way we make a flash is we make a solid layer, which is white. So Control Y and OK for a white solid layer. And okay, I can't cut it once again because Loom is being a bit annoying, but it's fine. It should be about 2 frames long, and I'm just going to place it right there. In fact, I'm going to make the opacity about 80%, just so it's okay. I'll make it a bit higher, 90%, just so it's not insanely bright. And on top of the flash, we also, of course, have our film burn. So for this one, I'm going to use transition number 8 actually, and I'm just going to drag it on top here. And you can see it's actually a really long transition. So what we need to do is just select a segment of it, and yeah, Loom is going to be really annoying because I can't cut this clip down. Ah, all right. I'm going to have to drag it all the way out and shorten it this way. Okay, so I only wanted to play a flash, so it finishes around there. There we go. And this will start at around this point. So that's where, okay, yeah, that's good. That works. And what we need to do with this is R, rotate it 90 degrees, and then T, no, not that. We just need to change the blend mode to screen. So
Because you were born less creative than others. You were born
okay,
less.
we haven't set up the other scene, so that's why. All right, so for this scene here, okay, we just need to cut all of these so they end at this point, which, okay, it's actually going to be difficult to do because Loom is not letting me use the keyboard shortcut, so I'm going to pause and cut it to this length. Okay, so I've cut it so it ends right in the middle of the transition, and now that I realize that's the wrong transition, so I'm going to delete that for now. And where's this transition at? Hold on. Okay, my After Effects is not liking me today. Oh, never mind. It's just really short. Okay. So, yeah, we can play the whole thing. So, I'm going to have it like around here. Start. And rotate it 90 degrees once again. Change to the blending mode to screen. So, here's the transition.
Because you were born less creative.
Okay. And now it's just back to my face, but we don't need that actually, so I'll delete it. And let's set up this next scene. So this next scene here, we have a background which has the TV lines overlay first of all, and I'll just make everything above the other. And then on top of that, what else do I have? I also have sparks as well, which make it look extra, like, it just makes it look a lot cooler. And I also have this, actually, no, I don't. That's all I need for this one. So born, so transitions, so, okay, so that's where I want the transition to finish. I'm actually going to do a little bit of that. Okay, so transitions here, and the sparks from the original video, they were actually white. So I'm gonna show you how we do that first. So the sparks here, I'm actually going to rotate them a little bit. Rotate it like this. I think this way it just looks a bit better if it goes like that. And what I'm going to do is control space for FX console, and I'm going to add a tint and a black and white tint. That's exactly what I want. Perfect. And then I'm going to add deep glow. If you don't have deep glow, you can use your own glow alternative. And if you do use deep glow, change the exposure to 0.5, and that creates a really cool glowing sparks effect in black and white. All right, now the text. So the word born, it was in the middle. So I'm actually going to change the position first before I make it a 3D layer. So now I'm going to make it 3D. And the way we're going to do this is, first of all, scale. I'm going to make it slightly bigger, 120. And I'm actually going to, no, okay, I'll leave it like that for now. Okay, and then I'm going to extend it out so it's still there. And less creative, I'm also going to adjust this so that's centered. Now make that a 3D layer as well. And I'm going to move it down here. And if you remember, the font was a different font. It was Alex Brush. So that's the font I used. I'm going to move my head aside. And we're going to change the color to a purple color because that's my brand color. Now you like to use that. And now we have the text ready. All we have to, I'm actually going to make this a little bit bigger, just 110. And I'm going to have it slightly overlap the word born, just so it looks cool with the glow. And I'm going to move it above that layer. And now I'm going to add deep glow to it, just because that's just because I have it. If you don't have it, any other glow will work fine, but deep glow will look the best. So this is what we have: born, less creative. And let's just have a look now. So right now it just sort of just pops in. And you know what? I want to make it so that it's in line with this text here. I'm just going to drag this out for a second. Have a look here. I'm going to move it so it's like slightly above. Okay. So born, less creative. And this one will just be a fade in, like this. Actually, no, it will be like this here. So I'll just copy this fade in and Control V, born, and then less creative. I had it right out like this one. So I'll copy this animator here, just Control C and then Control V. Now this all should work. I'm just going to press U to show the keyframes and drag it out a little bit. Born, less creative.
The reason why you
Yeah, that works. Ah, crap. We weren't supposed to delete the raw footage there because I needed the audio, but it's fine. We'll still have the audio in Premiere Pro. We'll just have to edit without the audio here. You should still have it, so it's fine. Born, less creative than others. So if you remember, then this is where we have the transitions to the next scene, and then others is where we have the next scene. So let's set up this transition. We're going to Control D, have another one of these right here, and we're going to add a transition. So transition number 8, and what I'm going to do is just cut it. So Alt that. That's our transition. Wait, what? Okay, so this is just like a very fast sort of flash transition. All right, I'll have it here. So I will drag these out a bit more just so that nothing's cut off, and then I'll have the transition and rotate it 90 degrees, of course. R90. Change the blend mode to screen. And we have the flash here, so born, less creative than others. So at this point, all of our stuff should be cut off. Okay. All right. And let's set up this scene now. I'll get into the movement after I set up the scene, but let's just set up the scene. So this is the scene with the artist, and we're going to drag these layers above here. That works. I'm gonna drag it out here and then switch the positioning around so the artist is there, and the word others can go above that. Actually, I think we need a transition earlier. Yeah, okay. I'm going to drag the transition to there. Yeah, I think that will work a bit better. And then all of these can finish there. Actually, can't drag all of it. And then just like that. It's not because. Why is that? All right. Okay. It's not because. Okay. It's fine.
The-
Then others. Okay, let's set up the scene. Firstly, background, make them first, 3D first, sorry. All right, position, move it all the way back, 3000 would work. Make it bigger, like this. And I'm actually gonna make this one extra big and just move it out so that the city is all we can see. I might even make this one a little bit bigger. So now we can just see the city and the artist now. We're going to, sorry, I'll just make this fit. The artist, we're gonna move him here like this. And yeah, I think that works fine. We don't need to change that at all. And actually maybe move it down a tad bit. Yeah, that looks good. Then others. And yeah, for the word others, this is how I did it. Actually, let's change the font first. The font is a serif font, PT serif is what it's called. PT serif, regular. O T H E R. Drag this down. R S. And what we need to do is make it bigger. Actually, let's not do that. Okay, let's change it so it's okay. All right, that's good. And then we'll change it using scale instead, because this way it's not going to be messed up. And I think this size is good. And if you remember correctly, we have it next to the artist here. And maybe it's a bit smaller actually. Make it a little bit smaller so that the O is about the same size as the artist's head. And I think that's good. We're going to make it below the artist. So yeah, that looks perfect. We're just actually going to bring it to the left a little bit. So P for position, bring it down a little bit, bring it a little bit to the right, sorry. Just like that. And we're going to add a deep glow to it before we do anything else. Deep glow, and change the exposure to like 0.3 for something white. Yeah, that works. And for this, it's just a typewriter effect once again, up and down. So I'll copy the animator from here, Control C, Control V, and U to see the keyframes. That should work. Ah.
The reason.
Okay, so that's looking good. That's this scene created. Now, the transition also involved some movement. So from here, I'll make it start here. I'll have the position change, and then by the time we get down here, so okay, so the position is going to move. It's just gonna, I'll drag everything else down, so don't worry. I'll make it like this. I think that'll work. And then I'll just drag all of this down now with it so that the position works just like that. Let's see this transition. Silly me, forgot to make it smooth. And it should look something like this.
The reason.
And then
The reason why.
no.
The reason.
I wanted to start like here.
The reason why you.
Perfect. That looks good.
The reason.
Actually, that was a bit fast. I'm going to drag that all the way out in that case.
The reason.
Okay, I think the problem here is I've gone down by too much.
The reason.
And I also just need it to start way earlier. But I'm going to, actually, it's only going to be very subtle, so 1200. And then I'll move all these layers up accordingly. So positioning is good. All right, let's have a look now. Bring that back.
The reason why
Okay, that looks way better. So very subtle movement. Okay, and that's basically all the transitions and stuff. Now we can do some compositing. All right, first of all, click U and U again to just get rid of all the things we had open. What we need to do is add motion blur to everything. Just add motion blur to everything. It just makes everything look much smoother. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, first of all, just pre-comp the everything from the null 2 down until the boy with the hand on his head. So I'm going to pre-comp that, which is right-click, pre-compose. Okay. And what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to Control Z. Before I do that, I think there's some other things I need to do first. So firstly, I need to create a shake effect with the camera because you know I like to use a handheld shake. So how do we do that? First of all, null object, 3D, link the null. Yeah, link the null to that. Okay, now position, P. But how do we make it shake without keyframing a bunch of stuff? We do Alt and right click. So this gives us an expression. This is the expression we're going to use. Wiggle. And we're going to make it wiggle by this amount. I think 15. Oh, no. I think 1.5 and 40 is just like a slight amount of wiggle. Let's have a look.
the reason why you constantly
Okay, it's not going to load, but you can see the wiggle. Yeah. Okay, I don't think this is going to load, but no worries. I just saw that. I need to extend that a bit. I'm going to change it to quarter resolution, so hopefully it loads now.
the reason why you constantly
Okay, so as you can see, there's a wiggle now.
the reason why you constantly the reason
And the reason why I don't have audio is because I deleted the main composition. And now that I look at it, I should move this up just a little bit. Like that. Great.
the reason why you constantly the reason
Okay, so it looks amazing already. And I think I actually want to turn down the wiggle by a little bit. Maybe 1 and 40.
why you constantly the reason why
Perfect. All right. So that's the wiggle effect done. Super simple, just an expression. Now, I want to create a flicker effect now, if you remember. It's very subtle. It's just a black solid flickering. Now, what do I need to do? So it's going to be an expression once again, this time for opacity. So T, opacity pops up, Alt, right click. You get this expression, wiggle, and just copy what I write. So you want to have 15, 10, minus 90. So this will give you a nice flicker.
the reason why you constantly the reason
Sick. And I'm going to have it start as at the first animation. Okay, why is there a gap of just nothingness? Okay, I'm gonna extend this by a tiny bit in that case. Why is there a black frame? Okay. Oh, it's because they're fading in. Okay, I see. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag these out and have them last a bit longer. So this way, it all fades in. Okay. Okay, I think what I need to do is just extend the footage and have it like this. Yeah, that's fine. Yep, okay. That fixed the problem with the black frame. And now the flicker is just going off and you can see it and it looks really good. All right, now that we've got all this done, we can finally pre-comp everything and apply a few effects. So pre-compose, okay. Now, what do I want to add? Firstly, posterize time is a must. It just makes it so much better when you animate in anywhere between 12 and 16 frames per second. I'll go 14. This just makes it so that the animation doesn't look, how do I explain this? Okay, I can't, just trust me. So posterize time, frame rate of 14. Now, what else do we want to add? I want to add noise as well. So noise, I have some custom noise presets that I bought, so I'm going to use that, but regular noise also works. I'm just going to set the noise to something very minimal, 3%. So this just creates a very subtle noise effect. And that's basically all the pre-comping I do, and I don't need to do anything else. So that's all there is to this first little animation. Let's play it again.
The reason why you constantly face
Premiere, don't do this to me. I mean, After Effects. Anyways. All right, let's just wait for this to load through.
the reason why you constantly face
Okay, apologies for no audio, but we just recreated.
The reason why you constantly face.
Sorry, we just recreated the first animation for this 3D reel in my editing style.
The reason why you constantly face.
Amazing. Hopefully you've got something just like this on your screen. Otherwise, just reach out to me and I can help you with whatever you're struggling with. But that's the first animation for the child's editing style. Congratulations on finishing this animation. I know I had some trouble along the way, so if you had some issues, feel free to contact me. I'll help you out. It's perfectly normal to face some issues, and please try to solve them yourself as well, because a lot of times when you're editing, you won't have me to help you. So try to solve some issues by yourself as well. It's some good practice. So this is the first animation. Congratulations on finishing it. What I want you to do now is to move on to the second animation if you have time, or otherwise just continue with the second animation as soon as you can. So congratulations on finishing the first animation. Let's keep going.